Hello and welcome to Chat UTD. I said many times I'm not the person that's going to be shouting for Eric Ten Hag's head, and I'm not going to be classifying myself as Ten Hag out. I don't hate the guy. I have no ill feeling towards him. It's possible to be like that and still think that it's right for him to be sacked. And at the moment, it's absolutely the right decision that United have to make is to sack this manager. I hear people say, well, he deserves, that's the key word, he deserves to be there to the end of the season. He deserves to get at least until Christmas. He deserves to get some time under a proper structure. Why? Why does he deserve that? What has he done to deserve that? This season, so far, or let's say in the last season and a half, has he improved the structure of the team? Has he seen problems and solved them? Has he got a team playing with harmony? Does he bring the best out of our best individual players? Does he bring the best out of the whole team? Does he play to our strengths? Does he get us playing really good football? Do we score a lot of goals? Do we keep goals out? Do we win more games than we lose? Can we see progress in what we're trying to do? The answer to all of those questions, and I've just come up with those off the top of my head, and there's 11 questions I've just asked there, and some of them are similar, but there's 11 questions, and the answer to all of them is categorically no. If 6 of those were yeses, then maybe he would warrant some more time. But they're all no's. So he doesn't warrant more time, and he doesn't deserve more time. He's a football manager employed by a big club who has to tick more of those boxes, and he isn't ticking them. So he needs to leave the club. The club needs to sack him. United fans are a strange bunch. They cry for time for managers based on the assumption that it worked once. That because it worked with Sir Alex Ferguson once, every manager that comes into the job should get a finite period of time to be able to do their job and see if they can make it work. Ferguson's a one-off. And absolutely, if they'd have sacked him, maybe we wouldn't have gone on and been as successful as we are now. But it's 37, 38 years ago when he took charge of United. Ferguson got time, so, if we lived in the world that we live in now, Ferguson would have been sacked. Yeah, absolutely he would have been. So is Eric Ten Hag Sir Alex Ferguson? Do you keep him just in case then? It's absurd. I've seen some United fans say that what we really need to do to break this cycle is get a manager, and whatever happens, keep that manager for 5 years. That's insane. Clubs appoint managers with good intent, and there's times when you appoint a manager and for the first part of their time with you, you think this guy could be pretty good. But it's whether or not they're durable. It's whether or not they can continue to improve, continue to oversee progress that marks a manager out or not. Very rarely will a manager start really, really well, fade in his second season, have an even worse third season, then make a stirring comeback in his fourth and fifth seasons. Ferguson did do that. But as I said, that was an exception to the rule. In modern football, most clubs don't allow managers time to get to the third season doing what Ten Hag's doing. I'd rather look at maybe more successful clubs in recent times and look at what they would do. And Eric Ten Hag wouldn't be at Real Madrid. He wouldn't be at Man City. He wouldn't be at Liverpool, probably. Liverpool maybe are slightly different. People point to Arteta at Arsenal. I do get that. I have to say, though, without being an Arsenal fan, if you speak to Arsenal fans, the more pragmatic Arsenal fans, they'll tell you that there was something that was different. It wasn't Groundhog Day. He was solving certain problems, but it wasn't quite clicking in certain areas. And he had the backing of the board to get rid of the Aubameyangs of this world. That is a big difference. But we're not seeing a guy moving forward here. We're seeing someone who is being supported by certain elements of our fan base just because they don't want to appear to be ungrateful or like slapped arses. United fans wear suffering like a badge of honour because we haven't had to do a lot of it for 20 odd years. Makes me a great fan because I'm prepared to stand by my manager and watch dog shit football every week and not moan about it. That just makes you, no disrespect, it makes you stupid. Why would you stand there and support a manager who you know is not the right person for the job? It's damaging our club. It doesn't make you a good fan. It makes you someone who's standing by and watching our club continue to be damaged and not moaning about it. That doesn't make you a good fan. Don't make you a bad fan, by the way, to support a manager. But we're past the point of opinion now. Last season, there's people that would stick with Ten Hag, and I would completely understand why. Because at that point, it was up in the air. This isn't up in the air anymore. It's done. So let's play devil's advocate and say, okay, let's go with that idea from I don't know, that's just one fan that I've seen it from. I've seen it from a lot of United fans. A manager would need, not a lot of United fans have said that we need 5 years, but that kind of similar sort of message. We have to break the cycle, so let's give a manager 5 years. Okay, so Ten Hag is 2 years in. I said in my last video, he is overseeing a team that's conceded 3 or more goals 24 times in just over 2 years. And the majority of those games have been in the last 18 months. So he's getting worse as a manager right now. Is he going to flatten the curve? Is that what we're thinking is going to happen? What's the evidence that that's going to happen, other than blind faith? You keep him in charge now, and we have picked up 7 points from 6 games. I think that's right. So let's say we pick up 10 points from the next 6 games. And because that's an improvement. So let's say that happens. 10 points from the next 6 games. So we've got 17 points after 12 games. Which means after 24 games, we'll have 34 points. Which means after 36 games, we'll have 51 points. If we average it out. We've only got 2 more games at the end of the season, so we're gonna roughly, probably, with him in charge, probably gonna get 55, 56 points this season. And keep in mind, I'm saying that there's going to be an improvement to what we've done in the next 6 games. So that's with an improvement, we're going to get 55, 56, 57 points, something like that, which is mid-table, between 8th and 12th, probably 8th and 10th. Okay, so there's 3 years gone. Next year, the 4th year of the master plan. What happens then? We ain't going to get any decent players, or not that many decent players come in. We won't be in Europe at all. The players that are there will be absolutely on their arse in terms of the morale and in terms of the pressure that's on them. Where do we go next season? Are we suddenly going to get top 4 next season after this year? And then the year after that, we're supposed to be challenging for a title. If you break it down, it's nonsensical to suggest that a manager should just blindly give a manager 5 years. If you can see that a manager has the makings of something special and you can give him mitigating circumstances and you can say there's something in that manager despite the results, that we can see there's something there, then you say fine. But even top Reds, even people that really support Erik Ten Hag, you couldn't have a serious conversation with them and they could tell you that that you can see something right now with Erik Ten Hag that is worth sticking with, because it's not. Now, this time last season, and even, you know what, actually probably about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, yeah. What's that, about April, March? Let's say March sort of time. I had my doubts about Ten Hag. But I thought there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. I can see why it's not gone so well this season. But then probably from February, March onwards, he continued to pick Rashford, who was stinking the place out. He continued to be stubborn with his way of playing, even though we kept making the same mistakes over and over again. He continued to make injuries an excuse and not problem solve and not throw younger players in. He had Mainu and Garnacho, but other than that, he promoted no young players into the team who would have been far better than the ones that we were watching week in, week out stink the place out. We kept getting the same type of results where we were in front and then just just absolutely inexplicably throw away leads, be in front in injury time in a game and lost against Chelsea. And in the same week, we were in front again, I think, by 2 goals, and we drew. I feel like that was at Brentford or somewhere like that, or Bournemouth. It happened time after time after time. If all of those things don't happen, and we're still not doing particularly well, but you can see he's trying to solve the problems. He's tried something different. He's trying to problem solve. He's trying to be solution focused. He's trying to maybe change the system, or he's trying to be more pragmatic, and it's not working. But you can see that he's not making excuses. He's holding himself with class. You say this isn't really very good, but maybe there's something we can get hold of here. He didn't tick any of those boxes, and then came Coventry in the semi-final of the FA Cup, 3-0 up, cruising. Can't remember which way round it was, whether we brought Mainu and Garnacho off or they made 2 substitutions first. I think they made 2 substitutions first, but I might be wrong. Anyway, you should be able to bring your 2 kids off and still be all right. Him bringing Mainu and Garnacho off, completely understand it. He's thinking, let's give him a rest. You should be fine with that. But he never responded to the 2 substitutions that Mark Robins made. Mark Robins, a journeyman manager who's a very good manager and obviously has a very special place in my heart with his United history, and I'm pleased he did well with Coventry. But a manager from the Championship makes 2 substitutions and it completely changes the game to the point where all Coventry have to do is make 2 or 3 straight passes, and every time they do it, they're in on goal. And they are sprinting through us time after time after time after time. They are 3-0 down against Manchester United. They get a goal, and all of a sudden it's like they're playing Crew. Like, it was embarrassing. They get it to 3-3, and they are battering us. It goes into extra time, and they look like they've got more energy than us, despite the fact they're a Championship team. They score a perfectly legitimate goal at the end of extra time that should have stood. And had it stood, Ten Hag wouldn't be our manager now. It doesn't go in, we win on penalties. We go on and we win the FA Cup. If we lose the FA Cup final, he wouldn't be our manager now. So these fine margins that I'm not by particularly the Coventry game. That's not by the design of Erik Ten Hag. That's by pure luck that we didn't go out. That's kept him in a job. Well, that shouldn't be the criteria to keep him in a job. The criteria should be all the things I've been talking about. From February to the end of the season, did he tick some of those boxes? No, he didn't. So he needs to be sacked last season. He wasn't. So then if he's not, at the start of this season, does he deserve more time? No, because again, he's not ticking the boxes I've spoken about this season. It's not about we owe the world a favour because we owe this manager a favour because we're Man United. We don't sack managers, or we shouldn't sack managers. We don't want a high turnover of managers. Maybe it's about picking better managers, because we haven't had a surefire. There's no such thing as a surefire manager, but we haven't had a manager I've been even confident about since Ferguson has retired. I'm not saying that retrospectively. I thought Moyes would be crap, and he was, but I got behind him, to be fair, because I felt sorry for him. And I wanted him just not to completely flunk. And I thought I'd just do no harm almost. I thought he could get us top 4 at least. And he was awful. He wasn't the right man for the job. I was not at all convinced by Van Gaal from the minute I heard him open his mouth at the press conference in the opening presser. Mourinho, I wouldn't have gone near. Solskjaer I loved at the start, but was never the right person to take it full time. And I wanted Pochettino. After Solskjaer, I wanted Pochettino. But that's not the hip choice. The hip choice was Eric Ten Hag. And I wasn't unhappy about it, but I wasn't like, we're going to be all right now. There's not one manager that's come in that's made me think, right, he's my guy. Or even that's had anything about them that I've thought that about. Not at all. So it's not keep picking managers who prove themselves not worthy of the job and then just stick by them. That's not the way to do it. If it reaches the point where it's clear they're not going to move you forward anymore, you sack them. And that's whether you're Man United, Chelsea, Accrington Stanley, Real Madrid, Torino, whoever you are. That's football. And that's modern day football. So Ineos ballsed up massively in the summer by not sacking him. But they're compounding the mistake now by basically probably trying to save face a little bit and going, well, we didn't sack him in the summer, we're going to look like a right bunch of knobheads now, aren't we? Yeah, you will. Because you are a bunch of knobheads, because you should have sacked him. And you should have had a better list ready to replace him with. And not have long-term targets like Amorim for the next summer. Get him in now. Get him in the summer like that's just gone. You chose not to do that. So you've made a mistake. Don't make it worse. Sack Ten Hag. Put him out of his misery. And it's on, it's on you, Ineos. It's absolutely on you that then this season it is touch and go whether it's salvageable or not with someone else, because is Ruud going to be able to come in and do a better job? You almost feel now that anyone could come in and do a better job in the short term at least, but it doesn't mean don't do it. It's risk and reward. There's no risk to sacking Ten Hag. And there's very little reward in keeping him. There is a risk in bringing someone else in, but there could be a big reward as well, or certainly more of a reward. And in business, you've got to look at it that way. We're not a charity. We don't owe people a living. And this stand by your manager bullshit, just for the sake of standing by him, is for top Reds who think they're better fans than everybody else. I don't want a high turnover of managers. I just want a good one who can do it over a period of time. Eric Ten Hag can't do that. Glazers out.